Digging into the earth means moving material that is incredibly dense. A single cubic yard of soil can weigh as much as a car, turning a simple excavation into a deadly trap. That exact weight cost a 29-year-old construction worker his life on May 5, 2016. He was part of a small crew hired to replace a residential sewer line in Oregon. The property was heavily wooded, and the crew had dug a trench leading directly toward the house's deck. In the area where the crew was actively working, the cut was 3 feet wide and 10 feet deep. Investigating a fatal cave-in is a forensic exercise. To understand why this specific wall failed, we have to look at the mechanical factors that were ignored on the morning of the accident. Whenever we excavate, we are temporarily holding back massive natural forces. Any compromise in our physical defenses turns a trench into a grave. Safety starts with soil classification. On this Oregon site, the contractor defaulted to Type C soil. This is the least cohesive, least stable, and most dangerous type of ground to excavate. For Type C soil, crews must use hydraulic shoring placed a maximum of 6 feet apart to hold back lateral earth pressure. Additionally, excavated dirt, the spoils, must be kept at least 2 feet from the trench edge to prevent added weight. Workers also need a way out. Any trench over 4 feet deep must have an immediate means of egress, like a ladder. The final requirement is a human one. Regulations demand a competent person on site, a designated supervisor who possesses the knowledge to spot these hazards and the authority to halt work immediately. These regulations create a margin of safety. They are the engineering boundaries that determine how much pressure the soil can handle before the risk of a cave-in becomes critical. Returning to the Oregon job site, we can see exactly what the foreman actually built and how it compared to those safety margins. Instead of placing the hydraulic shoring 6 feet apart, the foreman spaced them 15 feet apart, leaving a vast, entirely unprotected zone in the middle of the trench. They also omitted a horizontal whaler system, which is required to distribute heavy loads across any gap in Type C soil. At the open edge of the trench under the deck, the heavy excavated dirt was piled directly on the lip, rather than pushed back the required 2 feet. This cross-section should pushing inward on the completely unsupported trench wall. Down in the pit itself, there was no ladder. Workers had to jump into the trench to enter and pull themselves up by the dirt at the lowest point to exit, eliminating any chance of a rapid escape. The combination of excessive shoring gaps, an increased surcharge, and the absence of a ladder left the worker in a position where the structural integrity of the trench was no longer guaranteed. The 29-year-old worker was standing directly in the middle of that unsupported 15-foot gap. The company owner, acting as the designated competent person, was standing 15 feet away. He observed the workers standing in the unprotected zone and did nothing to stop the work. The surcharge pressure from the heavy spoils on the lip overwhelmed the loose soil's cohesive strength. The trench wall instantly caved in. The worker was buried under approximately 6 feet of heavy dirt. Co-workers desperately called 911 and attempted to locate him by hand, digging through the heavy soil without success. The site was so poorly engineered that when emergency responders arrived, they couldn't safely enter the pit. They had to spend hours installing proper shoring before they could even begin recovery efforts. The correct safety equipment was finally deployed to recover a body, rather than used to protect a living worker. The official cause of death was traumatic compression asphyxia. In a cave-in, the soil pins the chest cavity. The sheer crushing weight of the earth prevents the lungs from expanding. The resulting OSHA investigation ruled the incident a systemic failure of safety culture and oversight. The employer was fined $145,000 for willful safety violations. This financial and legal burden dismantled a 16-year-old small excavation business. A 29-year-old life ended in a residential pit, leaving a family permanently devastated. Having safety equipment on site provides a false sense of security if leadership lacks the courage to halt work. Ultimately, physics does not forgive human shortcuts.